Listen.
A different day, but the same old thing. I need a change in my life. I'm so tired. There has to be a new way. I need help in these last days. He said, come closer to me, yeah.
Come closer.
Give me your hand and just follow me, yeah. I got rest for the weary and burdened.
It sound good to me.
So put your trust in me.
In you?
Whoa.
Oh, okay.
Whoa. Now it's a brand new day outside. I never do all I had to do was lift my eyes to the hills. That's where my help coming from. Come closer to me, yeah. Give me your hand and just follow me, yeah. I got rest for the weary and burdened. So put your trust in me. Whoa, whoa. Everybody say we've been making joy for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Put your hand in his hand. I just wait on it. I just wait on it.
Come a little
He
closer.
said, come closer to me. Come closer. Give me your hand and just follow me. I'll take you where you need to go. Rest for the weary and burdened.
What's going on, everybody? This is Clay Burston. We have Antoine Spence, Bryant Martin, Leroy Diet.
What up?
And this is the Thoughts, Theologians, and Thug Show, a show for critical thinkers. So we have a few topics today we're going to talk about. But before we get into that, I want to first share that you can call in. We welcome your calls and your input. We ask you to be honest but respectful. So if you want to call in and join the conversation, call 1-855-493-6499. That's 1-855-493-6499. So call on in and join the conversation, but we ask that you be respectful. Let's get right into it. Brother Diet is going to give us a few updates on the coronavirus and how it's playing a part in our everyday life.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Thugs, Thoughts, and Theologians. What a blessing it is for us to be here. We thank God for Brother Marcus Nichols and the Mix Station Radio for allowing us to be on here. We certainly are looking forward to having critical conversation. I'm here with my brothers, Clay Burston, Antoine Spence, Brian Martin. We in the building.
The iconic Brian Martin, the living legend.
Oh, my God. Hallelujah. Glory to God.
Can y'all
And
hear
so
us?
we've come again to bring to you what we had on last week that had great response, and it's so wonderful. I see everybody's logging in, tuning in to watch. We appreciate you. Share this video with everybody. Start a watch party. Do that which is necessary. You need to be a part of this great critical conversation. We're looking to discuss things to talk about that others are not willing to talk about. Now, understand, as Clay Burston has already said, that we're not willing to be in an offensive place. We don't want to be intrusive in your lives. You have a right to your opinion, but please be very respectful, even with the call-in number and even with the questions that you may ask through this Facebook Live or whatever social medium that you're utilizing to watch this dialogue. I want to tell everybody that, of course, information that you may already know. That's Marcus Nichols that keep walking back and forth through the screen, but he's the editor, producer, and all of that, so he has a right to, and it's his studio. Hallelujah.
Studio.
Glory to God. So he can do that if he chooses to. Amen. And so we want to offer you the information that most of you already know, if not all of you, that the United States has exceeded the death toll more than China, from which it initially began. The coronavirus is spreading. We've been given the mandate to stay at home order from our governor, Larry Hogan, here in the state of Maryland, and we're praying that everybody complies to that. Yet we understand that the stay at home order is the suggestive urgency to decrease, or as they term it, flatten the curve for the possibility or potential of having this contagious coronavirus infect your life. And so we understand that it has brought many of us to a standstill, to be complacent, to be stagnant, to have to deal with ourselves. And so there are several things that we want to talk about. That as there are places that have 10 or less, and markets and stores are open, especially liquor stores. And so we want to discuss how this has not only affected the church, but has affected the world. And so that's what we're here to discuss and have critical conversation about. And we're just going to have some great dialogue and enjoy what needs to be talked about in this season. We pray that you come on and join in. My God, we're going to have a great time. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be epic.
It's going to be phenomenal.
Absolutely. So while we're talking
ain't gonna be
about,
regular.
Yeah. So, gentlemen, how do you feel about the stay-at-home order as it relates to the church?
Well, I predicate my comments with this advisory. I, Bishop Brian Kenneth Martin, am absolutely appalled that y'all would not assume that the church is an essential element. They done shut the church down, but yet we can go buy Ciroc. We can go buy Hennessy. We can go to Walmart and buy dish detergent and soap and new underwear, but we can't go to church and shout and scream. And while I'm not at all being insensitive to the magnanimous pandemic that has touched our country, I think we brothers have to go back and redefine what's essential. And I always thought that in times like these, we need to go shout and fall out on the floor and scream to Jesus.
There you go.
Yep, that's what I believe.
There you go.
I believe we supposed to shout,
Here we go.
shout and scream out,
Spitting corona all over
and
people.
spit, lay hands on the sick.
Here we go.
We're not going to pay much attention to Antoine Spence. He's sitting in the studio with $1,000 sunglasses on in this pandemic.
A prescription. God bless you.
There's no sunlight
bless you.
here. We all regular.
God
We all,
bless you.
And not a mask.
but the star is here, so he's going to always.
And he got
disagree.
one eye.
I
So
got
we-
one eye, and I need God to heal this eye. So y'all done
You
shut the
wanna worry
church
about
down. And I'm telling you, Clay, and you may help me. You just help me. I really want to know, has the church, and that was the conversation we had Sunday, has the church shifted into a normal where what we thought and what we were taught as kids is no longer applicable? And so I'm offended that the church is shut down. I'm going to subscribe and be obedient, but you have to know I'm breaking out in a rash right now as we speak.
People are saying that Leroy, the people are saying that pastors are being irresponsible by even opening the doors of their church.
Absolutely.
So at what point, does logic play a role in spiritual leadership?
I think logic definitely plays a role, because at the end of the day, we have to practice common sense.
All right.
Yet simultaneously, we cannot abort the concept of faith that has been given unto every man, a measure of faith. And so we can't evaluate the measure of faith that each individual has. We also must comply with the stay-at-home order, or at least the 10 or less that is required with a 6-foot social distancing. And so there has to be some common sense to understand the particular audience or place that you serve. It's contingent upon those that are at the church or place that you shepherd. And so we have to be consistent in our manner of how we approach this. And everybody's going to be different. I believe, personally, that it's an isolated incident with each audience.
Right.
You have to do it and shepherd according to the temperament of the sheep that sure you hear God, and this is not just your pride, your ego, or some disguised attempt to show that you have more faith than somebody else, which you don't.
Yeah.
Just don't be stupid.
I got you. Yeah,
Because there's always the potential of somebody catching the coronavirus, no matter whether you have 10 or less or not. And so you have to take all of that into consideration.
Isn't God a healer?
Let me jump in here.
You think
Clay,
about
'cause
God healing. Right,
I'm gonna be honest. I mean, it's the problem of the whole situation is that the pastors are not going to listen to what the distancing rule is. They're gonna get to shouting. They're gonna get to sliding all over the place and get to laying hands on people and slapping oil and not pay respect to the fact that you must stay away from each other. That's the first thing. So what's happening now is, church is essential. Liquor store to us is not essential. But at the end of the day, there are reasons that, if we be honest, that they don't trust the church enough to be able to say open your doors and still stay 6 feet apart. Because half the pastors ain't listening now. Well, not half. It's a few. It's a few ain't listening now. So let's just be honest. If a pastor open his doors and 40 people show up and they get to dancing, how many ushers you got? You got 4 for 50 people. You're not going to keep them 6 feet apart, and then we don't know who got it and who don't. I mean, so let's just. I'm gonna keep it 100 on my end.
I don't have no ushers.
You are a songwriter. You've written songs about God being a deliverer, a healer. So at what point?
Antoine Spence wrote a song called Hebrews 12. Hebrews 12.
Yep.
What's the word, Antoine?
Now, don't try to ask me the words.
I was just telling you that's what you wrote.
What's freedom script? What's freedom mission?
Right.
Just tell me your mission.
So now all of a sudden, now it's time to put faith into action.
Well, now he want to stay in the secret place.
We move out of.
Wait a minute. It's too early. We only 10 minutes in.
Oh, baby, I love you.
10 minutes in. It's the first show.
Hypocrisy to write these songs.
They write songs and preach about God being the healer.
Talk back to me.
And all the worship. And now it's time to put your faith into action. And say, Lord, I'm believing that if I'm sincerely serving you in this, that you're going to protect me through this season. So is a pastor considered? Because people were saying that they were calling pastors irresponsible and negligent leaders, and
should be locked up.
You don't love your people to ask them to come and worship the Lord in this season. So is faith? When did faith become irresponsible?
Yeah, I don't know how you connect. I don't know how there's a matrimony between faith and logic.
Yeah.
And maybe Bishop Dye would have to explain that to me. I just believe that if I got around the sanctified folk, saved folk, blessed folk, believers, we were able to shift the atmosphere and change things. But now I'm being told that era is over. That era is over, and I'm just concerned. Listen, I'm probably the only one on this panel who has sinned, and so because
you know what? See, here we go.
You're right.
No,
you talking about today? You talking about today?
I have sinned, and there is a restoration. There is a restoration and therapy that I received being around the saints. However, I do feel that it could be irresponsible that if one of my parishioners were to get infected by them being obedient to my command, would I go to their house if they got sick?
No.
Would I?
You wouldn't go?
I would. No. If a member of my church,
but you got them sick because you invited them to the church.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. I feel responsible. But if they said, Bishop, can you come over here while I'm?
Wait a minute. So if one of your members contracted coronavirus and said, "I need to hear my
in his
bishop,"
church,
would you go and pray for them?
I would go outside in the front door and pray.
You wouldn't
through the screen with your gloves on and your mask.
I had to practice the 6 feet.
I gotta be obedient to the laws of the land.
Yes.
I gotta be obedient. I ain't go.
Now we want to be.
Oh, now we want to be obedient.
Oh, no, I'm not.
And that's my point.
I believe
now we're being tested. I've been singing and shouting about it for years.
But
now
none of you have the elements I have. I have diabetes. Diabetes.
Pre-existing conditions.
The doctor said if you have diabetes,
the Holy Ghost
ain't say nothing. The Holy Ghost ain't say nothing about if you got diabetes.
The doctor, the president said if you have diabetes, you're not supposed to go around the corona. That's what the doctors say. And I have stage 2 diabetes. I could die any minute now.
This thing says
Holy
stage
Ghost.
2.
Thank
you got cancer? What you got cancer? I mean, ain't no stage 2. Ain't no stage 2 thing.
There's a unique
Come on,
difference.
Bishop.
There's a unique difference between opinion and faith.
Yeah.
And most of us, if not all of us, have to wrestle with the fact of whether
dealing with the opinion that we've allowed to influence our thoughts, our practices, our behaviors, and our own personal faith.
Yeah.
And so we have to be very careful how we attempt to, and I kind of, it's a strong way to say this, but I kind of hate the word balance.
Yeah.
That we've introduced
Yeah,
to the
that's
church.
a-
That's a whole nother
another-
discussion.
yes,
we
it
can
is.
have.
At another time, that could be another
What is
critical
balance? Yeah.
conversation. But
We just don't believe God no more.
Yeah,
Wait a
that's-
minute.
That's
That's
what I
not
want
true.
to plainly say, that we really don't have the faith that we talk about.
We do all that shouting when
disagree.
All that,
it's
uh-huh.
I disagree.
We shout with
It
stuff,
has to be
trivial
demonstrated
stuff.
We try-
more
I
than
disagree.
shouting and dancing.
I
That's all I'm
disagree.
saying.
Let me tell you- let me
Shout
tell you
about
why.
enemies and
Believe in
haters.
shouting
We
and
shout over that, but now, yeah.
Yeah, if you don't,
No,
if
I-
you don't
I
have
disagree.
praise for this,
Yeah,
then
'cause-
stop
because-
saying your praise is a weapon.
Come on now.
And it's not a cure.
I mean, that's yeah. It's not a cure. You're not just going to shout over this corona and you're going to wake up tomorrow and it's going to be all right. We're going
Yeah.
to be in this pandemic for a minute.
Yeah.
So the reality of the situation is, Clay is very, very clear. We must understand that it is. Now, Bishop Dye says, well, Leroy, I'm going to call him Leroy on this show. He is the bishop, but Leroy says just now that he hates the word balance. I think the problem was back in our day, we didn't have no balance. All we had was church.
And they had power.
They
Wait a
had
minute.
power.
Okay, so that's my point. So what you want to do now is you want to bring them to a place where there is no real power comes from what you just said. You said we had power back then. So evidently you're saying the power that we have now is not the same power back then.
My power
So why would I
is-
bring them into an environment with corona without the power that we had back then?
I got more power than Melba's got. I know
That's
that.
what I need to understand.
I got more power than Melba's. I got more power
I don't know
than
about that. They
Select.
packed out every Monday.
And they
Tuesday.
packed out too.
They sold out.
They sold out.
And the opening night, they gonna be up
But guess
there.
what? When
Mega
they,
Monday.
when they get in trouble, they know who to call. Honey.
That's true.
Now,
Now, that's
they
true.
said
They
that.
don't go to Melbourne.
They don't go to Melba's. Hiya! Glory. For no delivery. You know how I felt it. Don't you start that.
Bishop
My-
Brian, I need to understand, Martin, what you
What?
just said. I need to understand what you're telling me. So you saying
Hold on, brother. We got a call.
gotta call- okay,
call
we
in
come
there.
back. We come back.
Oh, God.
Call in.
Here's our
We got our first call
Please
in.
screen that call.
Let's clap our first call in.
Screen the call.
First tell me who it is.
Call
We gotta know who you are.
Hey, everybody, y'all got to call in. Elder Donnet, everybody.
Maxine.
Maxine,
okay.
that's my wife.
Okay.
She had a question.
Punch her in.
Punch her in.
Punch her in.
How-
Come on in here,
how-
Max.
You gonna punch her in?
Punch her. We gonna punch her.
him out.
Punch her in.
Punch her.
What's up, Max?
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good.
What up?
I'm glad to see y'all at it again.
Yeah.
And we were talking about, well, the portion that I saw, we were talking about power and the power of God. What about the power that we speak out of our mouth? It's more about us being in the having a stance in power, but what we speak out of our mouth should be able to have precedent over the atmosphere of what we're speaking. I heard Antoine say that this pandemic is going to be here for a while. Why don't we begin to change our vocabulary and then act out what we're saying through our stance?
Yeah.
We don't believe. I'm not standing and going to believe that this pandemic is going to be here for a while. I'm speaking in the atmosphere that the pandemic come to a close, that the pandemic ceases, that the pandemic is over. I think we, as the people of God and the leaders of God, need to start speaking out of our mouths the power that God has placed in our mouth. He's given us all a voice to say and put it in the atmosphere first before we get in the presence of one another.
Pandemic just walked
Max,
in.
that was so powerful, Max. And what's troubling me is that there's such division amongst spiritual leaders. Because we have spiritual leaders calling other pastors irresponsible and
But we had
money
the division.
grabbers.
We had the division pre-coronavirus.
That's very true, brother.
Which is one of the indictments of what we call now the church.
Yeah.
And this is not a further indictment from myself. I'm simply suggesting that we must move or advance the kingdom by being in unity.
Yeah.
That if we're going to speak, then we have to speak the same thing.
Yeah.
And so I certainly agree with my wife, Lady Max. But she's just trying to get some preaching engagements. I'm just. She should be here. There we go. All right, we're talking about speak life. There we go. We're talking about speak life.
I mean, my whole question, Max, was it's not that I don't have, because I come from the same school, all of it from that same. My grandmother, Bessie, was one of the holiest.
That's right.
I mean, listen, she raised me in that.
That's
So
right.
I got it. I just think my problem now is that Brian and Clay just made a very clear statement that we had a different type of power back then. Just being honest. So if we saying we had a different type of power back then, and we saying the power now ain't the same, why would I risk myself with a weaker power with a stronger virus?
No, I think you should demand us to do what they did.
Yeah.
So I think what they did, my
okay.
grandmother, your grandmother, because they're the same in context. Bishop Burston, Pastor Burston's father, Who are you? Who?
All right, Sir Alex.
He said, who are you? It goes who birthed it in you?
Yeah,
Bishop Ben or Bishop Nelson? Or
Yeah,
Now, wait a minute.
He's trying to say you got a bunch of spirits.
Back up.
Is this what you're trying to say?
You got back up here.
You got a father.
Back up here. Back up here.
What I'm saying is,
Who's your pastor?
my pastor's
Hezzy, Bishop
I
Hezzy
don't know
Collins.
he stated
my
on
pastor is
the
Go
line.
ahead and hang up. So somebody, I'm going to hang up so somebody else.
All right,
can
Max.
call.
All right,
Max. Thank you.
All right.
You was our first caller, Max.
Thank
You owe
you,
you
love
lunch.
y'all.
Give you the record.
Love
Hey,
y'all.
so what I'm
All
saying
right.
is, my grandmother laid on her face and believed God.
Yeah.
Until much of what she did could have possibly been questioned.
Yeah.
But our grandparents prayed, and they weren't perfect, but they lived a life of extreme consecration.
That's true.
And I think if we, even me, if we re-enter that, we can start. I don't believe those graces of supernatural abilities have disappeared.
Yeah.
I believe if we go back to what we were taught, we would
Yeah.
see the manifestation of it. That's just my personal.
Yep. And I really believe, because my heart goes out for this generation, because they may never experience that type of power.
And that's what, Dick Clay, that's my
They may
concern.
never experience it.
Like, we only have a few of those matriarchs still alive.
Still, yeah.
If we tell the truth, it's only a few.
Yeah.
So how
Or active anyway. yeah.
That's a good point too.
Yeah.
We have a few, but some are not even active.
Yeah.
Let's tell the truth.
I think it's our turn, Twan. I think at 46, you're 44, Clay's
Yep.
43, 45.
Leroy's 58.
Bishop Dodge 51.
No, 51.
he didn't jump to 58.
Pastor Simpson, call in so you can ask the question on the
Yeah,
air.
please
'Cause
call in, you guys.
it's rolling.
855-493-6499. 85. We got another caller calling in, y'all. Yeah. Oh, yeah, so you can see it right across the top. So call in. We want your participation. Call in. Brother Jeff, what's up, brother? Marcus, man of God.
What's going on,
wisdom,
man of God?
sobriety.
Hey, sirs, how y'all feeling, man?
What's up,
What
Marcus?
up, sir?
Hey, listen. So I think that based off the conversation that you're having, I think a piece that is different today than what was church as what we grew up in is the social era. So we have social media, and we got a whole lot of opinionated people. People of the generation we grew up with, we believed God. Now, the people of today are so analytical that they don't believe the Bible, don't believe God. You
Yeah.
got to create something in their face before they will believe.
Yeah.
And that has changed the culture of church.
Got both of them on.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. And because I think now we're being taught to question everything, and some things just can't be quantified, right? There's something
It
that's
can't be
supernatural. You
quantified. I
can't
agree.
really. It's not, you
Right.
can't. Yeah, you know
We'll
what I'm
never
saying.
understand the fullness of God.
God, yeah, it's impossible.
Yeah.
So,
Well, isn't that how the fall of man happened with the inquisitive nature of Eve, theologian? I'm trying to figure it out. Shouldn't
Well, it wasn't her inquiry. It was more so the seed of the inquiry of the serpent,
Theologian Leroy.
who did it in a subtle manner to suggest that what God said was not valid enough, that it wasn't enough. And so often we take our own opinion, as opposed to applying our faith properly and increasing our relationship with God by spending more time with God than we do with other voices.
yeah. We got another caller. Okay, they hung up.
Marcus, thank you for calling. Hey, Marcus, I listened
Hey,
to you.
Marcus, thanks,
I
man.
listened to you the other day talk about he got the whole world in his hand. I didn't like it. You was too sexy with it. So you can't say he got the whole world in his
world in
hand
spirit.
and then got your shirt all open with your gray hairs showing. Be sanctified or don't sing that no more.
Here's
Here's
one chain talking.
I'm one chain. I used to wear a lot of necklaces until God delivered me.
He opened his shirt every time he preached.
Pastor, call back, Pastor. We won't hang up on you. We just learning. This is our first trial, guys.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of nuts
And
and bolts we're
working
learning.
it out.
It's
Yeah,
our first
people
time.
walking
But
through.
we're going to come back every week and have this critical conversation. And some of you on here going to be invited in.
Wilbur walking across the screen.
Right.
Wilbur, the pandemic just walked
No
across
gloves.
the screen.
No sanitizer.
Right. Come right in
We
here.
know he washes his hands.
Wash his hands.
We know he
put
washes his hands.
sanitizer on.
Right. We want to open church. Look.
There you go.
Y'all call back. Call back. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I think it's really important that we had that discussion, because it's really creating another level of division. Because as Leroy already stated, division is not a new subject in the body of Christ, but it's so much vitriol with it. people are becoming, they're calling names and calling, and other pastors are going online and giving speeches about, pastors
I'm not supportive of that at all. I don't think that we should be attacking each other. I think, as we oftentimes do, I think that one of the biggest detriments of social media is the first time we disagree, we run to our phones instead of running to each other, especially if we got relationship with each other. If my boys say, I don't think you should have said that or did that, I would pray they would call me and say, B, that ain't a good look. Take that down. Don't say it like that, versus going to the media, because they're pastor friends of ours who've been challenged by this, by doing what they thought was right. I'm not going to use this as a platform to disrespect them.
But it's the culture that we're in. It's the culture that we're in.
I gotta. Here's what we gotta always remember. And I think this is where, off the record, when we talk, this is our biggest debate right now. That there is a new age that is going on, and the problem sometimes I think with the church world is we're so far behind that Brian is speaking of them going to social media immediately. It's a social media age. They believe everything is fair game. So where we was brought up, wasn't no IG, wasn't no big time. We had, we had MySpace maybe.
We had discretion,
but I said this on online the other day. The truth really be told, this generation now ain't embarrassed by nothing. Nothing embarrasses them.
So if they're not embarrassed by, they will embarrass you.
They would, and we was embarrassed with our stuff. Like we was like, whoa, we don't want you to know. But this new era we live in, these kids don't have no fear of nothing. They don't care about nothing. They don't respect nothing. So our age wouldn't go to Facebook and blast you. This age believe Facebook is the way to address you.
For the first time in my life, I'm playing the 50 on this pandemic. I believe that we should be going to church, but I also believe we should be staying home. So I don't know which side of the
It's a wrestle. It's a wrestle.
Why am I not in church, believing God, praising God, even walking outside, waving in the air, whatever we do? But then also another side said we should be home. And
because as a pastor, you bear that responsibility of maturing people in faith.
Absolutely.
So you're right. So every pastor who has a pastor's heart is struggling between, do I lead in faith or do I lead in what seemingly is common sense?
And that's what was happening the other night when I was watching even another pastor. I won't say his name because it's on radio, but he's a well-known mega pastor in deep down south, and he was saying, this was his statement. He said, I have a mega church. I have thousands of members, and I'm not opening my doors. He said, if they're opening their doors right now, it's only for an offering. They could care less about their members.
I don't think you should be under one umbrella.
The assumption shouldn't be, if you open your church, he's after money.
And I want to call him and tell him to send me a check since he got that much money, because I saw a pastor post a flyer that any church with under 50 members he was sending $1,000 check to maintain them.
Wow.
I didn't see a lot of my friends on there because nobody want to admit that we only got 50 members. nobody would admit it, but I responded.
I responded. Everybody was like, awesome. No.
That's great. I only saw one person say, I need that help.
I called him and say, Jesus, let this be real. I need it to be real, baby, in this season.
So funny.
Every mega pastor donated 10 churches. So we got mega pastors, and we all know at least 15 separate mega pastors. Everybody adopt 10. We can give some type of therapy.
Apostle
Okay.
Apostle Dwight
We got to call him Apostle Dwight Smith.
Thank you for calling, sir.
Right. Hi, Dwight.
Bless you.
Bless you. I just wanted to chime in on something because originally when they spoke of just having 10 people and not more than that, I thought about having church. But then after I thought about that, I thought about what I teach as far as faith is concerned, but then having people come that didn't have the same teaching that could have come in from somewhere else, and they could bring in something to affect those who I have been ministering to and helping them to grow in their faith. And I think that one of the things that we had to make a decision on from my standpoint was, do I open the doors, even if I'm saying only 10 people, and then have a problem with others coming in, and then I have to later deal with the fact that maybe one of my members was affected because I did open the door.
I'm with you, sir. I agree with-
That's certainly a valid
Mature
point.
answer.
And to even speak further to those that are asking this particular question synonymously with your question, Apostle Patty Johnson and Pastor Donald Wright have asked, why isn't common sense and exercising faith, why can't those both be synonymous? And so I want to respond, and I'll allow the rest of you to respond, that I want to say to you all, and not just to you all, but just in general, that when we talk about common sense and exercising faith, they can by no means be the same. That would suggest that faith and logic is the same.
Right.
And that's just how I'm responding. I'm not suggesting that you can't have both.
Yeah.
I'm simply saying that when you utilize those particular things, you can't put them in the same basket.
Yeah.
You have to have common sense, of course, yet there has to have a faith in God.
Yeah.
My faith is not in my common sense.
Yeah,
My
right.
faith is in God, and that's who I listen to get direction and guidance from. And so that's just my response, my 2 cents. You have your opinion, I have mine, and we all good.
You know,
go ahead, brethren.
You know, Antoine Spence, I need you now. Me and you don't agree a lot, but I need your agreement right
Let's
here.
go. I'm with you. Let's go.
Claver Burson and Leroy Dyer
Our brothers.
just said that my faith is in what, Bishop Dodge, you said?
In God.
Okay. Okay, it's in God.
Claver and Burson said, amen, brother.
So that means he agree.
Do you know these brothers a couple of weeks ago took me out to the gun range and shot guns?
Oh.
And both of them right now
Have guns.
have guns. Is your faith? I like the yo. Oh my God! Thank you so much for the back. Thank you so much for that. Was right on. Hey, I'm treating you to a veggie burger after this, my guy. Man, you just help me. So if our faith is in God, why am I? I know Leroy got it on him somewhere. I bet not touch him.
Don't touch me too much.
6 feet. If our faith is in God, why we carry? And I mean, we all carry. We all understand it. I just want to be down with them because I want to be like them. So whatever they got.
But B, I'm confused because I thought they said that they had faith.
They had faith in God.
So why don't we just go
gun?
on Penn North and just hang
Why
out?
you got a
and
gun then?
Wear all your jewelry. Just hang out. And
Why you got an
don't-
assault rifle in
What
your
you-
living room?
What you got a gun for?
Pastor Claver,
But we got
Burston,
faith.
Bishop Leroy.
But we got
Dyer.
faith.
You gotta
though.
call
We
the
got
phone,
faith.
man. Thanks to
We got
him,
faith.
Oh, Leroy can't answer that.
No, we can answer.
Oh, I
it.
get
You
them
change
fucking
the
answers.
subject. It's
No,
not the same thing.
I don't want to kill him.
One in the chamber, 15.
All of these
That's
are
what they got faith in.
suggestive insinuations. My God, I got scripture. Jesus asked them, "How many swords do we have?"
Yeah.
They said 2. He said,
Said
"That's
you're
enough."
close. Right.
But anyway,
Thoughts and theologians.
but anyway,
Oh my God, this is funny, yo.
I wonder who the thug, who thinking, and who the theologian.
Damon,
My guy.
Damon preached at my
Good
church.
dude.
Good guy.
Solid man.
You on the line? Let's
Yes,
go.
sir. Hey, brother, how you guys doing?
Great
Good,
man. How you
great
doing?
man.
Hey, I wanted to respond to Bishop's comment about the guns. Now, I have a license to carry, and so I do. And I still have faith in God. I wear my seatbelt, too, right? I lock my doors on my car. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I don't know if it's a question of faith. If you carry, matter of fact, we should all go to the range together. Amen.
Let's go.
But brothers, in this conversation, I've been listening and I've been enjoying the conversation. But I would say that I know for myself when they said that you could go only use 10 people. I just took my staff to the church so we could go live and live stream and all of that because I was concerned about our partners and parishioners coming there, and I made sure that my staff was safe and I made sure that they were clear before we could come down there. And now I feel like I'm forced to do it from my house because now I've been told that that we should all stay home. So I'm not even going to take my tent down there. So it is putting pastors in a very unusual place because we're wrestling, and I like all of you are. I'm also wrestling, but I just wanted to say that I appreciate this dialogue, brothers, and I appreciate that you have this platform that we can all listen and chime in. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Good
job,
brother.
man. Love you, brother.
Thank you
Yes,
so
sir.
much. Appreciate
Yes, sir.
that, brother. It's so true.
We
So
appreciate
pastors, call in and speak your heart.
So
So
let me
is
say
it-
this
so
though
is it common
before we
sense?
move.
We'll move
We're
to the
not
next
we're not
topic.
necessarily talking about whether we carry or not. One thing I do know, and I will say, Bishop Martin, this 9 won't stop this coronavirus. Hallelujah.
Let's go out and shoot.
I can't shoot this virus. You can't shoot what you can't see. You can't shoot what you can't see.
I can't see without it.
I tell you that much.
I mean, so I'm asking Clay. So is it common sense then?
That's
what my little cousin Ashley just said. So is it common sense then, not faith?
What do you mean?
She's saying, okay, so we said it was faith before.
Yeah.
He just said it's just common sense. Certain things we just ain't gonna do. So do I have faith enough to use the common sense, or am I just saying, oh, I got faith in God can just protect everything?
In my opinion, I do believe that faith is necessary, but in some areas you do have to have some common sense.
Good pastor.
Meaning, when Jesus was being tempted, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Right. And he
sir.
could have jumped. He scripture, but he said, "I'm not even going to tempt God."
That's
right.
good.
So I do believe that. So I guess faith is an assignment. This is what I believe.
Oh, that's good.
I believe that some people are called to pray in this season. If you're meeting for any other reason other than that, then you're tempting God. But I believe that if God has called you, if Leroy was in prayer, he said, "Brother, you got to come together and pray." I believe God will protect him and whoever he's called to assign to that moment. So, but yeah,
We got another
100%.
caller. Thank y'all for calling in.
Let me say this before we take our caller, that I reiterate, I'm not suggesting that common sense and faith cannot be utilized together.
Right.
They are two different concepts.
Right.
I'm simply saying you better have faith in your common sense then.
Absolutely.
That whatever you decide, you must believe that God is
And it
in
better
it.
be God.
I like it.
You must believe that God is in it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm simply saying. Faith is attached to God.
Yes.
Common sense is attached to us
Yes.
as His creation.
And
Make
faith
sure
also,
that whatever common sense you use, that your faith in God and God is attached to it.
And
That's
faith
all I'm
often
simply saying.
challenges common sense.
We got a couple
Right.
callers.
Okay, keep calling in, y'all.
Can we get some sinners to call in? We got a whole bunch of pastors, a whole bunch of bishops. I need some of my
That's
thugs.
it. That's it.
It's
Sean
called
Edwards make a
thoughts and
clear
theologians.
judgment.
Like everybody's so deep.
Call back, Steve McCoy. You say you're trying to call in. Call back.
Yeah, I need Steve to call.
Phone blowing
You gonna
up.
start something?
Steve want to talk about eternal grace.
We all talk about eternal security.
Right.
Steve want to tell us that we all
If you die, you're going to heaven.
Sin all you want.
sin all you want.
Enjoy yourself.
Run
You like the thief on the cross.
Run outside naked. You gonna go to heaven anyway. So Steve called us back.
Because you're covered by grace. Empty your call us back, Steve.
Empty your
McCoy.
purpose.
It don't matter.
Eternal one.
Empty the clip.
The new hit single by Steve McCoy. Enjoy yourself, children.
Enjoy yourself and be free.
Marcus calling.
Hey, listen, Donald Wright just said while we're waiting for the callers, are they on there? They ready? Okay.
Oh, hey,
All
what's up,
right.
Shelley?
All right.
Talk
I'm
to
sorry,
us.
Shelley.
All right, this is Elder Shelley Snow, and I want to speak on common sense. And we got to look at, we're spiritual beings. In the natural, everything He deals with us is in the spiritual, and common sense is attached to our natural. And so God doesn't deal with the centralness of us. He doesn't see how we see, and He doesn't think how we think. And so when we are depending on common sense, we're depending on our own perception on how we think and how we see it. Faith has nothing to do with common sense. Faith has to do with following instructions. The substance.
That's good,
Substance is the instructions that has been provided, which is the Word of God. So it's not about, it has nothing actually to do with common sense. And has all to do with following instructions. I'm done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great input.
Great.
Thank you.
We didn't block you, Steve. We waiting on you.
Jeffrey, come on, Jeffrey. Come on, Jeff.
Whoa, nothing. My brothers, my faithful brothers, how you doing?
Good.
Good.
Hey, Pastor, this is Jeff Red. How you doing?
Hey, Jeff.
So listen, I just wanted to sit up and say, see, as pastors, you are the head and the protectors of the house of God, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, you should be able to protect your flock. That's why I agree with you having weapons. The way things have gone in churches nowadays, you just can't be too safe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
Now, I've been with Pastor Clay shooting at the range.
Yes.
And I thought after 25 years of shooting in the police department,
What kind of ministry
I was
is that?
good. Well,
It's a
not
new
really
age ministry.
I'm just saying, what
Mission
I'm saying
life.
is that you should be able to protect your flock because you just never know when the devil going to come in there.
I agree, brother.
No, we agree.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you for the call, bro.
I agree.
All shepherds kept staffs and rods. So
That's right.
but nevertheless, that's not what we're really discussing right now.
That's not what you're
that.
saying, but I'm just saying I believe that you
We
should
got
be
you,
able
Jeff.
to
We
protect
appreciate you.
Exactly, man. We need
Jeff,
that input.
appreciate-
Jeff,
yeah,
this
man.
is the platform for that type of input.
Yep.
This ain't nothing wrong with that, brother. Thank you.
All right, y'all.
We still don't got nobody calling in.
Russell who?
All right, Vegas. From Vegas.
All right, Vegas.
I was just there.
Oh, where are you? Revival?
Where was you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm from Baltimore though, but I moved out here.
Nice.
But I follow the bishop on line a lot. But with regard to your comment, I think that having faith and having a gun, I don't think they correlate. I don't think it takes away from your faith if you have a weapon. People target the church. Believers don't have to be victims. Look at what happened in South Carolina. So I think that we're good with that. I think that you have to have common sense. If somebody's breaking your house, I'm going to pray about it, but probably after I grab the gun.
Oh, my God.
I'm going to pray about it. But
You from here.
You're a killer. You from Greenmount. You from East Baltimore. Greenmount, my guy.
Yeah, no, Park Ice though, but I
Oh, there you go. 21215. I want you to get off the phone, man. The fans is listening. Get on 21215. 21215.
No, hold the gun, Bishop. Hold the gun. Keep practicing.
Talk the wire. The wire.
All right, y'all. So,
All right, man.
So we're gonna move forward. We got one subject, and then we'll try to go through a little bit, and in about 10 minutes, and then we're gonna give everybody a few minutes. To
Everybody
get
got to
their
understand, we only on here for an hour.
Yeah,
It may be extended some days. We on here for an hour today, so we need you all to understand we can't take every call.
Yeah.
But we took a couple of days. But we thank y'all for calling in. We need the
Absolutely.
input.
Yeah, we enjoying y'all just as much as y'all
Absolutely.
enjoying us.
Yeah.
All right, people. So brothers. All right. So our next question is, what should pastors and churches? How involved should we be in politics, in the community, so forth and so on?
And so we're talking about the relationship between church and state, if you will.
Right.
And what we should, the extent of how we should interact between church and state.
Right.
Is what you're asking. I simply believe that we must become involved in our community, and it doesn't necessarily have to be deemed as political. Yet there are politics in everything. Steve's calling. There are politics in everything. Yet at the same time, again, we must utilize our sense of our relationship with God in order to understand what He wants us to do, because the government is on His shoulders. And so we have to understand that to the fullest degree.
Y'all don't understand.
Y'all don't understand what's happening in the studio.
Stripping,
Oh, my God.
going on.
They're not laughing at me. I'm laughing myself. It's a whole nother peep show.
15 minutes.
Please get a picture.
Let Steve ask the question.
Come on, Steve. Come on, Steve McCoy.
Yo, what's up?
Take us to the heavenlies.
My God.
Listen, yo, so is not faith the prerequisite of that which is spiritual? So, like, I feel like it has nothing to do with common sense. Like, both is a gift. Common sense is a gift, and faith is a gift. But He gave us a natural gift to understand there are some things we just shouldn't walk into. I feel like if the doctor say you got diabetes, don't eat no more pork and steak.
Why you had him? Wait a minute. Why you eat diabetes? Don't put salt. Why you eat sugar or your gravy? What we not gonna do is pick out my diabetic situation. Because when you was sick, I prayed that thing off you. You prayed that cancer off. You prayed that cancer. Steve weighed 80 pounds. He had turned black as the street, and we prayed and shouted dance until he hopped his crooked tail back to Portland, and now he gonna come against me. Nigga, got his feelings. Look at his feelings, Steve. You got him. I'm in my feelings. You got him, Steve.
Now we getting theologians. We ain't theologians no more. And these are my thoughts.
Go ahead, finish, Steve, because I agree with you. Go ahead, finish.
Oh, man.
You know, they both a gift. I'm just, I feel like we got to abide, you know what I'm saying? Well, I'll pray for something, but then do the opposite of it. Faith only works for that which is spiritual. So we keep throwing the word faith around when the truth of the matter is it only works for that which is spiritual.
So, Steve, what's your? I want you to make a definitive a statement. What do you believe right now? Should the church be open or closed? How do you feel about it?
I feel like church should be closed. If it's where we can catch whatever, which is natural.
Okay.
I feel like I feel like that does not deter me from faith.
Wow. Okay. I agree.
I feel like my faith is in that which is impossible, not that which is possible.
That's good.
You understand what I'm saying? So like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, we should stay home. You know what I mean? I feel like we're walking into a danger zone. You know what I mean? Like,
so Steve, do you believe that there's anyone called to stay open in this season? So meaning even if the majority are supposed to be closed, do you believe there's anyone who's anointed to be open in this season?
I want to hear this answer.
I don't believe that. I believe that God, like I said, He gave us a gift called common sense and gifts to create. And I feel like when He allowed us to create social media and all the things that we have right now, He created such a major platform that if we use it properly, like we can, I feel like we can actually still do ministry properly because the ministry it goes way beyond the four walls.
That's what
I certainly agree, but I do want to change the semantics of our verbiage, if you will. That we can't say that the church is closed because the church is never closed.
Okay.
So when we just talk about using those particular words about who can stay open, we're really responding to the demand for in-person gatherings, which is the new narrative now that has been presented to us. So when we talk about the church being closed, that we understand we are seated under an open heaven. And so we'll never be in a place where
it is closed.
And the gates of hell shall not prevail.
The building is closed. You put your key in that door. The church is not closed. You put your key in that door. You have to face jail.
The church, as we define it, that has been the problem. That has been the problem, baby. That we are relating on an equilibrium a church and a building. So that's the real problem.
The church is dying.
My church closed. My church closed. I can't get a roach to come to my church right there. I'm going to open the doors. I'm gonna get all the people y'all ain't getting. Because I got faith.
Hold up, though. I want to say this in what Steve was saying. I really thought I was one of the types of church that was graced to be open. I really thought that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I really thought that my type of ministry would be the type of ministry that would cause healing to come to the land.
Yeah, let me tell you a song, right? Praise is going to change my condition.
Praise is going to change my condition.
Praise going to save your life.
Don't let nobody die. Don't let nobody die. And 30,000 people.
Let nobody die, verse 2.
The pamphlet coming in 2021.
What's the?
Cheryl, call in, Cheryl.
I'm gonna go. This for Leroy.
Yeah.
You gotta walk in the eternal, Doc.
We knew it was coming out of you. Let me see, Steve, if that grace cover you from this coronavirus. We knew it was coming, Leroy. We knew this sensation. I knew he was going to get a snipe of the other. You got called eternal security, baby.
New York, we hear you.
Let's go.
Hey, Cheryl.
Hey, Cheryl.
Brooklyn,
in the house.
Hey.
So I'm listening to your conversation, and it's pretty interesting to me in this respect. It's interesting to me because it really depends on where you are physically living as far as the effects and the answer that you'll give concerning the questions that you're asking. Now, you're asking me, living in Brooklyn, New York, should churches be closed?
Right. When
I'm in the hotbed, okay?
Okay.
And I'm understanding that Maryland is getting to a point where the coronavirus is escalated, but we're like there and past there. So when I hear certain people commenting on whether churches should be closed, I agree with the fact that church is never closed. And I believe that we're so building focused. And see, that's the issue. Why are we so building focused when the original church was outside of the wall? Jesus don't know what no church building look like.
That's right.
He made wherever
Wow.
he went the church.
That's right.
So now that we're so building focused, we're talking about is church closed? No, because do you have prayer in your house? When is the last time God visited you at home?
Right.
Do you have a relationship at home? See, most people that want the building called church open are the people who don't have a relationship outside of the church to a point where they can still grab hold to Jesus wherever they at. So
Sister
the
Cheryl.
problem is that,
What about when the Bible says if one put 1,000, two put 10,000 to flight? So is there power in coming together? Do you believe that?
there is power in coming together, but we got to realize that the power of coming together can be metaphysical as well.
Okay.
So you can use a social media platform, have all of your people together, and the power of agreement. Agreement is not based on a physical thing. I can agree with you all the way in California and still get my prayers through. See, we have to also realize the spiritual part of man, and we're so physical till we forget about the spiritual part of man. When Jesus died, they found him in one place. Next thing they looked, and he was someplace else. So we have to realize that we're taking this thing to a place where we need to take it out of. We're boxing God in, we're boxing his work in, we're boxing in what he can do, only because we're looking at stuff that's so physical. And we have to stop that. That's why the church is not to a point where it could be, because everything is just so here and now. It's not here and now. It's past here and now. Jesus, you cannot touch spirit. Spirit was never born, so it will never die. So we have to realize that we can use the spirit man in us and get stuff done that the natural man can never do.
Sister Cheryl, thank you so much for your thoughts, and I don't want to seem like I'm interrupting or being rude and cutting you off.
No, go ahead.
We simply just want to get to some other callers and perhaps wrap up our time that we have together. Thank you for your thoughts.
We're praying.
No, you don't have to apologize.
Cheryl, tell us what church you go to in Brooklyn.
Matter of fact, my pastor's name is Bishop Hezekiah Walker.
Well, that means you know me then, right? So,
464 Liberty Avenue.
how long have you been there?
I've been there since 2003.
Awesome. So you know your pastor is my pastor as well, right?
All right. Never heard of you. Wait a minute. Sheriff, we'll be honest.
Never heard of Brian Martin?
Never heard of Baby Wolf.
Nobody know this guy, man. Baltimore.
Wait a minute. We're going to take it back. Not Brian Martin. Baby.
Oh, now you know me. Now you know me. All right. Now you know me.
All right, Sister Cheryl, thank you for your thoughts. Because we don't know this baby.
What baby? Lord baby? What baby are we
Thank you, Sister Cheryl. Thank you for your thoughts. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
All right, y'all. Real quick.
I love you.
Real quick, y'all. So the show is only for an hour, but because this is our first episode, we're gonna go over. This is a half an hour, and we're gonna change courses real quick.
We going to 2:30?
No, to 2:30.
2:30.
Yeah, we can go to 2:30, you guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
So ultimately,
I'm here for it.
I'm ready.
Amen. So
That's if y'all want it. I mean, we ain't doing nothing to y'all.
Y'all want some more?
Well, y'all in the house anyway, y'all unbelievers.
got nothing to do, right?
Church is closed. Church is closed. So you might as well keep looking at us then.
What y'all saying? Church is always open. Stay on here.
Because obesity is a sin too. So stop eating and listen up.
Amen. Oh, what up, Alex?
Is that our nephew?
Oh, that's Sir Alex. That's nephew.
Nephew. Alex. Hey, Alex.
Can't call in with that cricket.
God almighty. Oh, you know he gonna get you. You know he gonna get you.
He hung up. The next one. We can only give him a minute to call, man. You can't let nobody give a dissertate.
Yeah, you're right.
Who on the line?
Pastor Buster from Philly.
My God, that's Pastor Buster from Philly doing a great job.
My man.
What up?
What up, y'all? So I'm calling. I just want to first say, y'all, I definitely appreciate this platform, for younger preachers, because this helps us kind of get another perspective on
how we should operate in ministry during this season. You know, this kind of lessons into you ones that are leading the church right now, like in your thoughts and mine. But I know as it pertains to me, you know, I closed down my church because of this pandemic. Number one, because I'm a new pastor that pastors a successful church. To God be the glory. And I was fearful of making a wrong decision. You know, a lot of people judge us young pastors for closing our church because we think we're just trying to take a Sunday off or we're lazy. No, some of us did it because we just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like, you know, some of us are not going to be honest and just say, we just don't know what to do.
Right.
Even my former pastor, my presiding bishop, never pastored through a pandemic. This is challenging. So, you know what I mean? I definitely appreciate you all for just being open enough, like Bishop Brian Martin, for saying, look, I thought I was going to be the one that's going to heal and set free and deliver during this pandemic, but then I also believe that we should be home. Yeah. You know what I mean? I respect that because we're challenged by our faith and reality. My grandmother served Bishop Lawson, but yet she's home and not coming out. She's saved, baptized in Jesus' name, filled with the Holy Ghost, but yet she has enough sense to say, look, this is not wise to come out. So that's why I closed my church, because I'm concerned. Yes.
You made a phenomenal point, brother, and I think that is the sobriety of all leaders right now. We don't want to make the wrong decision. I'm learning in this season that you can be anointed and still not know. And so young pastors and old pastors must subscribe to that still sobriety. That I don't want to make a decision trying to be Superman in the kingdom and cause my members to be at detriment. But let me say this to you, Buster, before you get off the line. One of the dopest things you said in this pandemic in the interim, you says, I shut my church down because I have members. Now, you recanted that statement, but I thought it was a phenomenal statement. It's easy for someone to suggest to have church when ain't nobody coming to your church anyway. But it's a different dynamic when you are responsible.
Or you're not a pastor.
And you're not a pastor. You are responsible for the well-being. And when you recanted the statement, I understood because I know many of our constituents took it as arrogance. I know you, Buster. I know you're not arrogant. You too big and black to be arrogant, Buster. Buster, you too big and black to be arrogant.
Baby. So let me stir the pot. I'm gonna stir the pot then. How many members you gotta have to be a pastor?
No, what I'm saying, you got to have somebody to come. Some people.
Okay, I can have two. Am I still a pastor?
Yeah, you're a pastor.
All right, so everybody equal.
But my point is, we were being critiqued.
I just got confused for a minute.
That's what you just said.
Let me clear. Can I clear it up? It's not that you're not a pastor, but it's easier for you to say have church when social distancing for you is an easy task.
Right, and you got two people.
I disagree with that statement. That's an arrogant statement.
No, it's not.
I'm going to be very honest. I believe that's an arrogant statement because the same pastor who has 10 members just as valid as the man who got 3,000.
No, we're not saying about validation.
No, we're not talking about validation.
We're not talking about validation. We're talking about validation. It's easy to separate two people than to separate 500 that Buster has.
They have different levels of services.
Well, Buster, we agree with you, man. Call that.
No, not we. You.
I agree with you. No, absolutely. Buster's my guy all day long, and he got a wonderful church. And Buster, I'll see you in November. You just gotta get a revival. I'm 3 nights. I'll get that revival.
My God.
My God forever. My God forever. Call you later, Buster. Talk. He agree with revival.
He want another date.
Oh God.
Who on the line, Reverend?
Who on the line?
Who's on the line, sir?
Hello? Hello? Are you there?
Who's on the line? Introduce yourself.
Where you calling from?
Okay, they
all right. So if you calling, you got to hold on for the people are calling in.
You got to hold on because we on fire.
Yeah, we want to hear you guys.
We on fire.
We try to hear everybody. That's why they excluded it.
We're doing better than Hot 97 right now.
Our first show is in Vegas. We in Brooklyn. Shorty, we everywhere.
We got numbers.
Everywhere. We got numbers.
Everywhere you ain't never there.
We got 100 on the line.
You see this right here.
And wait a minute. I know they gonna like this, but wait a minute. If we're blessing you, cash at Bishop Brian.
Black Bishop at 111.
And this show is sponsored by nobody.
Right. Hey, we all doing it together. We all equal in here. But if you want to cash out somebody, and I know I'm being a blessing to somebody. I know somebody's here.
I know you're on here to see me.
I know you only came to see me.
James Smith.
Dum 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 dum.
I bet you Antoine won't be controversial now.
Sure won't.
I bet you Antoine Smith is shut up now.
There's only one
But one voice.
Is he elegant?
No, not real. There is only one voice.
Is this pastor elegant?
Bishop James Lemuel Smith. Bishop Antoine is in here carrying on. Tell us what you got to say.
Bless you, everybody. Bless you, everybody.
Oh, Lord.
Grace and peace.
The pandemic is here.
To this great conclave that's gathered,
Bishop, come on, Bishop. Come on, Bishop. Don't do that.
My God.
I appreciate this gathering. I think it's impactful and insightful, and so I wanted to chime in and just honor you for your efforts. And let's ask some questions.
Uh-oh. What is it on?
What counsel will you all give, or what thoughts do you have regarding the actual paradigm shift that's happening completely post this pandemic resolution? The church is going to change indelibly, and I want to hear your thoughts regarding the various changes that probably are going to take place, and or how you feel some of them should be carried out.
Bishop, you know you're a hero to me, and this is Brian Martin. But let me say this to you, and Leroy's coming after this. I believe God diluted celebrity with this pandemic, and the pandemic has caused us to re-see each other, redefine each other, reevaluate each other. I think now we know how necessary we are, where the small and the big are all right now scratching their heads with anxiety. I think that God was, now this is just my personal opinion, I think that God was absolutely disturbed by the unfiltered testosterone in the church, where you were defined by how many you got, what you drive, how much your offering was, what you kind of Rolex you have. Now, when we come back, because I believe prophetically we will come back, I believe fellowship will be organic. I believe conferences will be relevant. I believe we will no longer give report cards to style, and we'll go back to substance. I believe that we don't have to worry about public perception anymore. I think this pandemic is going to cause us to come back and then be the strong body of Christ. That's just my opinion. Leroy, take that.
Absolutely. Great Apostle, it's so good just to hear your voice, man of God. We honor and give you much honor and respect. Thank you for calling. I simply want to agree with and ditto with Bishop Baby over here. Bishop Baby. That's a little Bishop Baby. No, you got to have a little laughter in it. I believe in this post-era that we certainly are going to have to include and address the vein that we're in right now with this social media and virtual reality, and to include those that we have really excluded before and have to address their concerns and their issues so that we might have an authentic place of worship that goes beyond just our buildings, that now we've given so much consideration to just the place where we are and not the people that we are able to reach. And so we'll have to stay in that same vein and continue with an aggressive effort to be sons of Issachar and be skilled with the times.
I'm glad to hear all of your thoughts, and I know that I have great deference for each one of you that are serving there. Let me say this to you. I actually just did a telecast of some sort, but the Lord gave me the word just simply to say this: breathe. I believe within the scheme of pandemic, and although I'm an etymologist and that I understand what pandemic means, laced within the pandemic is the term panic. It's kind of off-putting that you kind of put it indirectly connecting panic with pandemic. And I think in this hour we have to be very poised instead of panic. And the church intentionally will have to calibrate what we're going to do next. I think each of you all are so correct. Bishop Martin, I embrace the thought that the people are changing, not just, it's amazing, leadership aren't even going to have any voices. People are going to change in what they demand.
Wow.
People are going to change what they're looking for, and they're going to force leaders to not try to return to business as usual, because nothing will be usual. Everything will be different. And because of that, there is going to be a great appreciation for the newness. And Pastor Diet, I agree, and it may be Bishop Diet or Archbishop by now, I'm not sure.
No, none of that.
You just old Lucky Leroy. Lucky Leroy.
I'm going to just breathe on that.
I was talking briefly with my nephew Antoine, who I have great respect for him. I was talking to him about the induction of so many new mechanisms of worship that are now going to be, they're being forced upon us now to create them.
Right.
And these streams are not going to end. They're only going to continue and evolve post the pandemic. Bishop Martin and I are going to...
Can I ask you a question? I mean,
sure.
Cut you off. Bishop, you know I talked to Antoine and Clay and Leroy emphatically about this. Do you believe that after this is over, it's going to be hard to get people to come back to the physical church building, and their demands will be, oh, no, I'm still a member of your church, but I don't want to come. I just want the virtual ministry. Is that a fear of yours or concern? What do you think?
Well, it's not a fear. I'm going to tell you why. The change is going to happen in us as leaders. People are going to run back to the church, a certain group. They're going to run back because they have such an appreciation for fellowshipping, even with people they don't like. They're going to be desperate to touch them because nothing will ever replace the power of human touch, and certainly the power of God's touch. But in addition to that, the leaders are going to have to welcome a new avenue and stream of organic awareness of church. There's going to be a group that's going to be thirsting for not only for it to maintain, but for it to increase and expand. And so if we create mechanism, categories, compartments that speak to that, our church will triple. Because now we're going to have the thirsty that's right in our room, and the thirsty who are saying, thank you for not condemning or indicting or vilifying me for wanting something perhaps new age or new dimension. And I don't want to see them indict or condemn those of us that want to see people physically in front of us either. So the leader is going to be the one that measures that, honestly. There are going to be some that insanely and in my opinion ineptly insult and try to fight that expansion. And then there are going to be others that say, hey, I'm going to speak in tongues 25 times for y'all in the room, and 45 for those of y'all that's on the various streams, and we're going to all get it better.
Absolutely.
So that's my prayer. That's what happens.
Heed the word, Bishop Martin. Heed the word.
Because you listen to my apprehensive. I'm listening to everybody.
But Apostle, do you believe that it's possible to virtually pastor anyone?
Good question.
I mean, but we can preach virtually online, but can you pastor them online?
That's Clay talking.
Now, I'm sorry. Please forgive me for not addressing you. God bless you, man of God.
That's all right.
He's Baptist. He's used to being over. Yeah, he don't have no power. He don't got no power. He hasn't been. Hey, Apostle Smith. Listen, we ain't got to. Listen, Pastor Smith, Clay came to my church last week and preached for my founders, and the first time God ever used him to speak in tongues and dance was at my ministry. So now we got to baptize him in Jesus' name.
Why are we including
He's a Trinitarian. He doesn't believe in oneness. So we'll talk about that next week. We'll talk about that.
This is not an attack.
We're not going to engage in a doctrinal debate today.
Oh, we got to do it one day, though. One day. Oh, it's coming.
We're going to have the conversation. But to speak to your statement, earnestly, I think we're going to have to create a mechanism to pastor, but I don't necessarily agree with only virtual pastoring because there must be some type of accountability. And my fear is that with the virtual church, There are those who are running from accountability through that vein, and we can make anything good bad.
That's give Uncle a clap, man. Yo, Marcus, we went to the clap. I already gave you a veggie burger. Or you want a soda with it? Clap, man. We got guns, nigga. We ain't scared of none of y'all. It's fake guns in here. I know you got common sense and guns. Wilbur don't even belong in here right now. He got a part of this team.
Please let this be a disclaimer. Right, his thoughts are not about our thoughts are not about his thuggish
Wilbur
ways.
didn't make the flyer. Y'all look at the flyer. He's not a thought or a theologian. Here you go. We're gonna holler at you next week. We gotta talk to you about something, all right?
Appreciate you, Unc. Thank you.
I appreciate you all.
Thank you, Pastor. We appreciate you, man.
I love you.
Love y'all.
Thanks for the wisdom.
Love you. My God. Clay, he said something that was like that we didn't have in our conversation.
Yes.
That was tough.
And that's tough, right?
That was
Yeah.
tough.
It's a reality, though.
It takes an apostolic pastor to kind of reveal that type stuff.
Yes.
Let's talk a minute first.
Clay has it. No, let her come on. Let her come on. Let her come on. Why she come on?
Come on, daughter. Sorry. Hey. You not gonna speak to us?
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, what's going on?
Hi.
Go
Ask
ahead.
your question.
What's your thoughts?
I just wanted a prayer. It's really hard for me during this time.
Okay.
I'm a single parent, and I just been praying just really to get by. I just really, really, really needed some words of encouragement.
All right. Let's pray.
Okay, so that's why we're here. We want to ask Bishop Leroy and Bishop Martin will pray for us. Pray for you.
Kind Father, in Jesus' name, we thank you for this opportunity. Even this mechanism has caused the soul to call in, and this whole agenda is that someone would know you.
Yes.
And Father, because we cannot be there, actually, we can send angels to her and speak life to her. We ask you now that she would be comforted and strengthened and have the wisdom to parent and stand strong in this strange time. Father, in the name of the Lord, I ask you to calm her mind and let her know that there's a nation that stands with her. And there are 4 pastors and brothers who stand with her legitimately without any agenda. We believe God for you. We believe God for you. And even all the jokes, the laughs, at the end of the day, we are all 4 believers that believe there is nothing that God cannot do. And we send help, thank you, Jesus, to your house right now, to your city right now. We don't know where you are, but we're praying and we're believing, God, that nothing would be impossible for you. In Jesus' name, amen. Hey, sis, where are you at? Where are you at?
Son and Holy Ghost.
I'm in Baltimore. I actually go to Pastor Clay's church. He's actually my pastor.
Oh, so Pastor Clay is your pastor? And okay, so who's this again? You don't know your member, sir?
Yes, it's Tianda.
Oh, hey, Tiana. Hey, how you doing, woman of God?
So what we're going to do is, Tiana, is we're going to ask Pastor for permission to bless you with a little seed. All of us are going to send you a little something just to help out, because it's for real out here. Listen, guess what? This was the highlight of the conversation for almost an hour and a half, that someone would feel comfortable enough to call in. So we're going to bless you with something. We're going to
give us your cash app or whatever it means.
Yeah, tell your pastor.
We're all willing to send something to you.
What we'll do to be more diplomatically correct, we'll send it to Pastor, and then Pastor will send it to you, so it can all be all be cool. But we're praying for you. And we encourage you to have a relationship with your pastor. Do you know him? Do you get to speak to him at all on Sundays?
Yes.
Okay, so start doing that. Start going, knocking on the door, and ask the deacons to let you pass so he can love on you, all right? God bless you.
6 feet. Stay 6 feet, though. I need my brother alive.
That's big time, nigga.
I mean, you know what's crazy though? Like the crazy thing is, we've been on the air for an hour and 18 minutes. That was the first call we had for prayer. Now we're not saying the show is called Thugs, Thoughts, and Theologians. So there is a mixture of people that are going to call in. Yeah. So we're welcoming every call. You can be from the thug side, you can have a thought, or you can be a person who can break down.
Because all of us are thugs, all of us are thoughts, and all of us are theologians. We are all of that.
Just don't be disrespectful.
That's all we ask.
Please, just asking you.
Don't be disrespectful to me, because I know that's what y'all want to do.
Y'all ain't gonna ball.
They can't wait to fry Brian.
But y'all want to kill me. That's right. Somebody right now want to kill me, and I'm telling you,
all them posts
with all this stuff that's going on, I'm coming to your house. It's gonna be
coming for them.
All right, y'all. So we got 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
So we're gonna wrap up. We're gonna let everybody have their final thoughts on whatever you want to talk about, and then,
I want to say thank you all, first of all, for tuning in, because you didn't have to do it. You didn't have many options, but I appreciate the fact that you chose us as the option. Today, y'all took time out y'all schedules to be with us. I mean, this was just a thought last week. Bishop Martin called us. We talked about this years ago. Bishop Martin called and said, hey, man, I want to do something different on Sunday morning. And from that, we just decided to keep it going. So I'm saying I'm appreciative of everybody on my live, my IG live. My IG is GodGuy1112, GODGUY1112, if you want to follow. Also on Facebook at Antoine Spence, ANTOINE I thank y'all for logging in. Please, it's Thugs, Thoughts, and Theologians. So this conversation will change weekly. So one day it might be heavy scripture, heavy Christian, heavy theologian. Next week it might be a bunch of thugs calling it about the gunplay.
Or some thoughts.
Some strippers. We welcome everybody. Like, we don't here. I don't want y'all to think this is just a Christian show. This is a Christian-based show because we're Christian guys and we love God, and that's our first premise. After that, everybody call in and have a talk with us. We'll talk about everything. Nothing's off the table. Holla at your boy.
I want to appreciate my friends. Let me tell you something. This mission was birthed out of just a regular pragmatic conversation, and I do believe, as charismatic and traditional as I am, I believe that deliverance will be connected to a dialogue before it's connected to a dance. And so I'm proud to be with my brothers. We're all shoulder to shoulder. It's over 25 years of friendship and brotherhood. We laugh, we cry. We've spent time together. We've all had our ups and downs. I was driving over here, ironically, and there's one common ground that all of us have that's kind of caused our heart to break. We have different theological beliefs and different methodologies of church. But one of the most paradigm shift for me is when my dad died, and Pastor Burston's dad died a few years ago. Antoine's mom died. Bishop Diet's dad died. And we know what it is to be broken but have to continue.
Right.
And sometimes the laughter that we give to each other is therapy. It helps us get along with the day. So this mission is going to be something we're doing every week. We're going to have different conversations. The whole objective is to get someone to know Jesus. And whether they speak in tongues the way I would like them to, or shout, or run around, I want their souls to be saved. And so this has been fun for me. Pastor Burston, Antoine, Leroy, I'm looking forward to it now. I wasn't too excited about it.
Didn't believe in it.
I didn't believe in it before.
Tell people the truth.
I had to pray about it.
He didn't want to do it.
I had to pray about it. There is Wilbur again.
He's not even trying to get on the mic. He's trying to get on the mic.
We don't
some
need
kind of way.
mascot. We are good. But I'm excited
trying
about
to get on the mic some kind of way.
My name is Mr. Warcry. My name is Mr. Warcry at Instagram. Bishop Brian Martin at Facebook. And guess what? If you want to bless me, my Cash App is 1111. God bless you.
Hey, listen, well, my cat, no. Oh, baby, they want to throw the Cash App in this. Leroy died like everything else on my other platforms. So, but I'm just so thankful for this opportunity for us to share together, and especially for all of you who have tuned in and called in, and all of your opinions. They're valid, and so we thank you for participating with us and for joining us. And this is just a great critical conversation, and I am tremendously blessed by the response that we have from person. Please look for us on next week. I believe we're going to be here Wednesday at 1 p.m. again.
Yeah.
On next week.
As long as there's a pandemic,
that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do.
The moment the pandemic live, I'm going back to church.
I know he's safe. But he's going to be doing it on screen as well. You better know. You'll hear this Cash App again. And you better know.
Hey, this Cash App is going to work. I'm not by Mr.
From these thugs and thoughts and theologians. But listen, I love all of y'all. Peace, and see you next time.
Yep.
Pastor Burson.
So thanks for calling in. We'll see you guys next week. We're going to have special guests to come in from different nuances. It's going to be an awesome time. If you are available or you heard the prayer, the Cash App, you want to bless the young lady, it's $TEEBURTON 1016 T Burton 1016.
Bless that young lady.
TEEBURTON 1016. So we're praying that you will bless her. We're going to bless her. So we're praying that our listeners would give to her as well. Thanks for calling in. Y'all have a great day today.
Facebook,
Holla.
Instagram, YouTube,
All of
iHeart.
it. All of it.
I'm a thug, I'm a thug, I'm a thug.
Play that theme music again. Play that
I'm a
theme.
thug, I'm a thug, I'm a thug. God brought me to great thought and made me a theologian, but at the root of my life, I'm a thug. Y'all don't like that type of call.
This is what I like right here. I like it like this right here. Play that song for me. Play it the way we do it.
Hey, Steve McCoy, we ain't
Steve
paying
McCoy.
you a dime for this.
Steve McCoy, Josh Lay. We got our own music.
Said, come closer,
Steve McCoy, producer. Josh Lay on the vocals.
and just follow me, yeah. I got back for the weary and bad.
Josh Lay,
So put your trust in
Josh Lay, thank you for this,
Whoa.
Okay.
Now it's a brand new day outside. I never do all I had to do. If my eyes are tuned, that's where my help coming from. Come closer, closer to me, yeah. Give me your hand and just follow me, yeah. I got back for the weary and bad. So put your trust in me. Everybody say we've been making love for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Put your hand in his hand. I just wait on it. I just wait on it.
Come a little
He
closer.
said, come closer, closer to me, yeah.